for a lot of people, not myself included, but for a lot of people, a lot of anger today because of the way the Browns lost to the Bengals yesterday, 17-16 in the regular season opener.
So that implies you're not angry, is what you're saying?
I'm somewhere between. I'm not really anything about it.
Okay.
Like I'm more maybe because it's early in the season, and maybe because this is totally one of the more likely ways yesterday was going to go, a very close loss to a good Bengals team. Maybe some of this is I've prepared myself for this potential kind of outcome. But yeah, I'm not emotionless, but I'm certainly not where I think it felt like a lot of social media was the last 12, 15, 16 hours, which was a lot of anger.
Yeah, I don't know that I have anger, but I let it ruin my day in many ways. Like yesterday, I was texting with my buddy I don't know, maybe an hour after the game ended, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about these games today. They haven't really been that great. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like the Steelers game came down to the end, and I hate that they put the Baker Mayfield part of this, but the Bucs game came down to the wire. He named like 4 straight games that came down to the wire. If you're an unbiased NFL fan, it was like an awesome week 1, and I was like, no, I don't know. I think these games kind of sucked, and I knew it was just because the Browns had wrecked my day.
So it's interesting you say that, because one of the big talking points when I was just texting back and forth with folks or just kind of listening to it was actually an insane. I didn't know how watchable this game was going to be because of the Bengals defense and the Browns offense. It was pretty back and forth. Like it was an insanely watchable game despite 2 missed kicks and 2 big oopsies on wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, again, my buddy that I was texting with, he's a Cowboys fan. He doesn't care. He's got no investment in the Browns outside of me being here and the other person in the chat being here. And so he was like, yeah, it was a pretty great game, all things considered. It was one of the games he reeled off. Is like, this is entertaining. And so I think for a lot of people, it was just that. It was entertaining. But it just was such a crappy way to lose a game. And when it's 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you feel like you can just step on their throat and end that thing. To lose after that stinks.
But if you're going to lose, don't you want to lose off the kicker? Because if you lost because your quarterback is crap, that is defeating. If you lose because your defense is just garbage,
not that way.
That's awful.
Because it feels like you were there. It feels like you should have won that game. It feels like everything was right in where it should be. To lose with the kicker stinks.
Yeah, but I think it's the best because then everybody else escapes damage. You can still have trust in Harold Finn Jr. and Dylan Sampson for what they did. You can still have trust in the offensive line with old Corny Lucas there at right tackle. Cornelius Lucas at your service. Sir, that's how he talks.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
But you can still have faith in what a great defensive performance is. You'd rather not lose in any way. But if I get to point finger guns pew, 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 all at the kicker today, that feels like a win as a fan because you can claim you should have won.
Well, but you still don't have the answer at kicker, though. This is a major part of the team is still not being answered.
It's a kicker.
And if I'm looking at the wire, Greg Joseph and Cade York and Zane Gonzalez, all these other former Browns kickers, exactly right, it's a kicker. But kickers obviously matter in this game, and the kicker lost you that game.
I'd rather lose because of Brian Shaw than Cody Allen or Corey Kluber or Andrew Miller or Francisco Lindor or Jose Ramirez any day.
But you're starting a different discussion there. I didn't say which one I'd prefer to lose. I'd rather my main stars be main stars. I'd rather Myles Garrett look great and you end up still with the loss. But it doesn't make me feel any better.
It's a different how much of that is about the games that are coming after? Because I think everybody immediately went to,
well, that's it. This
was
is
a winnable
the one we were
game. If you can't win this one, what the hell in the next 5 games?
The way Joe described that in that comment that you heard in the open where he thought the Bengals stole one, this was the chance for the Browns, maybe not even to steal one, but in the big picture of things, to steal one from the Bengals. And yeah, you got the Ravens coming up, you got the Packers coming up, you got the Lions coming up. Doesn't look good.
Do you think the Browns played well yesterday?
I thought the defense played very, very well. I want to give a lot of kudos to the defense. I thought Joe Flacco played well. I thought I liked Cedric Tillman. He had the drop, but I thought Tillman had a really nice game. I thought there was a lot to like. I thought
Would you
Fannin
say
had a really
the
nice
Browns
game.
Played well?
Yeah, they played better than the Bengals.
Then shouldn't the takeaway from that be their proof of concept, which is what we needed, which is with a stout defensive line and with just some creativity on offense, you might be able to hang in there in these games more often?
Maybe hang in there, but the fly in the ointment in that conversation is the idea that this was the perfect matchup for the Browns in many ways. This was it. The Bengals defense is trash. You scored 16 points total.
Yeah, the fly in the ointment is the kicker. Just say bye-bye. That's the beauty of this. That is, like yesterday, we can fall back on so many true silver linings. Harold Fannin Jr., good at you, kid. Dylan Sampson, really, really good in terms of yard after the catch, getting the ball behind the line of scrimmage and making plays. He looks fast.
He was great.
I didn't think the offensive line had a great push when it came to run blocking, which is their forte, but I thought pass blocking, they did a nice job. Joe moved around really well.
There was different parts of the O-line I liked. There was also parts that were DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, that also happened. The defense played in the second half lights out. Like, because the kicker was such booty stank yesterday, you can really just focus on the silver linings. This is the Deshaun Watson of it all from last year. Remember when the Browns went around and be like, if not for Deshaun Watson, we wouldn't have been 3-14. Deshaun Watson's absolute failure and the fact that nobody was going to take up for him last year allowed you to just go blank slate. That was all Deshaun. We're moving on. We're moving in a positive direction, and that allowed you to sell hope going forward. I can sell you hope going forward because the kicker should not be here anymore. Bye-bye kicker.
But it doesn't solve the kicker issue. You still have a kicker issue.
Yep, which, by the way, if we really want to get pissed about this with the Browns, it should be that after last year, it made total sense to bring back Dustin Hopkins, give him the offseason, but could you have bought in a better kicking partner to maybe take the job from him? I think you could have. That's worth being mad about today. But, yeah. Okay.
Well, and it is frustrating. It is frustrating because I've watched this GM. I watched Andrew Berry take a kicker in the 4th round, and then so many people yelled at him, but he put a priority on trying to get it right to the point where he spent a 4th round pick on the kicker, and then everyone laughed at him, and then it didn't work out, and so then all of a sudden his response to it wasn't, "I care about the kicker. It matters. I need to continue to put importance on it." His response was, "Well, okay, I guess just kickers are a dime and a dozen, and we'll just let it all play out the way it needs to play out." And then you're watching these games like yesterday where you have a guy that wasn't even good in college, all things considered, from a hit field goal rate percentage. I know he's a Luke Grozo Award winner, but he hit like 80% of his kicks. That's not a great number. And he's your guy in week 1, and he looked like he legitimately looked like, as it was, the very first game he's ever kicked in.
Yeah, I mean, this is all fallout, much like the quarterback situation, which is all fallout because one of the worst moves you've made with Deshaun. No, the worst. I'm not even gonna. I don't know why I sugarcoated that. But with the Browns thing is once they got Dustin Hopkins, they immediately gave him a big extension, and that made it tougher to move on from him in the first place. Again, we're in agreement. If you were really considering at any point moving on from Dustin Hopkins, you should have brought a better alternative to the table. That is without, but yeah, like just because there's no easy fix to the kicker situation, this is where we were 3 weeks ago when I said, hold on to Dustin Hopkins, and everybody kind of shouted me down because if Andre Szmyt can't do it, you are in the kicker carousel, which is as bad as the QB carousel this early in the season. Well, but that's where we are. Bye-bye, Andre. And by the way, if the Browns cannot commit to cutting Andre Szmyt, then they're telling me they're endorsing losing. Exactly the way you lost yesterday. He might end up learning to kick. He might end up being just fine. It was week 1 oopsies. There's a lot of things that could go on from here. But if they don't bring in another kicker on the practice squad, if they don't bring in competition for Andre Szmyt, they're endorsing what happens if he costs you another game as soon as this weekend.
It doesn't seem like they're going to. If just reading what Kevin Stefanski said today, but I went back and I was listening to Bubba Ventrone after they released Dustin Hopkins, and his big main selling point was in why they had to release Hopkins was he was too inconsistent. What they'd watched and what they'd seen, he was too inconsistent. They needed some more consistency. Well, okay, fine. Szmyt, you're out of excuses. If you go out next week and you're not consistent, and we then have multiple weeks of you being inconsistent, there's no helping you here.
Yeah, I don't have to wait one more week. This is the easiest thing in the world. Like you couldn't,
but it doesn't sound like they're going to do that. By the way,
well, okay, then if you lose again, I get to hammer you for it.
Of course, the way you get to hammer them now, you get to if you want to.
This is like if you keep putting Matt Festa in huge high leverage spots and he keeps giving you away games. At some point, if you keep doing that, I hammer you for that.
You get to. Right? You get to today. It's not. You don't have to wait. You can do it right now today.
Like Kevin Stefanski. Let's go ahead and play Kevin real quick so I can go off on this. Kevin Stefanski today. So again, yesterday it was. It's too early. It's too early. That's not where my head is. Today he was asked about Andre Szmyt and whether they have thought any more about what to do at kicker.
I'm still focused on yesterday. Obviously, Andre knows we trust him, knows that he's got to come through for us in those moments. I thought he had a really good warm-up, banged a couple early in the game, and, missed those two at the end. And those are kicks that we expect him to make. But I'm really just focused on that game, and we expect him to come through for us.
Oh, guys, it's okay. They know. He knows. Andre Szmyt knows they expect him to make those kicks. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It unloses that loss. It does. This is okay. I'm not going to hammer him from yesterday. All right? They took a chance on the kid. It didn't work out. But all gloves are off. Like, the gloves are off going forward because you can't stand by this kid and then him miss another big extra point or another field goal and to come out a day later and be like, well, we know he expects. Oh, that's great. Well, I guess we'll just go bleep ourselves then.
Yeah, you can tell it's really hard because, again, part of the reason why he was able to have the job over Hopkins was he was nailing everything in periods and times that we're just not privy to. So the belief is that he was automatic then. And, you saw Zach Jackson had a tweet out before the game. Before the game, he's like, if he looks anything like he does in this little practice field or in the little setting before the game gets underway, he'll be in Canton or something like that. I'm obviously using a little bit of paraphrasing there. The point was he was nailing it, but once you actually get to real live game settings, it's different for people. The emotions get to people. Your nerves get to people.